If anyone hears a curdling scream, it's I've got my assistant, my parrot, with me today. So
All right, good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to the April 9th, 2024 Complaint Review Committee for the Arizona State Board of Pharmacy. My name is Lori Walmsley, and I'll go ahead and call the meeting to order. Dr. Gandhi, can you do roll call and conflicts of interest, please?
Certainly, Madam Chair. Ms. Walmsley?
Present, and mine have been submitted.
Thank you. Mr. Thorwald?
I'm here and no conflicts.
Perfect. Ms. Nair?
Present, and I have a conflict on 4B. It's 24-0005.
Right, and last but not least, Mr. Al-Nassif.
I'm here and I have a disclosure for case number 24-0057. I have had past professional brief interaction with one of the persons involved, but that interaction does not impact my ability to consider the matter with an open mind.
Okay, so just for the record, you're disclosing, but you're not recusing, correct?
I'm not accusing this, I'm disclosing. Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
All right, thank you, everybody. Let's jump straight into the agenda. Item 4A, complaint number 23-0687. I'm recused from this one, so Kristen, do you want to go ahead and lead this one?
Sure. We have the complainant alleged that the pharmacy filled the prescription medication and attached the wrong label to the container. I would say that this is an error that I'd make the suggestion that we do 3 hours of CE and to the pharmacist and the technician that's not disciplinary on med error prevention.
That seems reasonable.
Okay, that's my motion.
Second.
Okay, any other thoughts before we vote? Okay, all those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Nair. Item 4B, complaint number 24-0005. A licensee failed to report criminal charges within 10 working days.
I'm recused.
Thank you. Thoughts
Yeah.
on this one?
I'm sorry.
I said thoughts on this one?
So for not disclosing, usually goes $250, right? Fine.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is
$250 non-disciplinary civil penalty.
correct. This is my motion.
Second the motion.
Motion and a second. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, motion carries. Item 4C, complaint number 24-0059. A licensee failed to report a 2018 arrest on his initial license application and then failed to report a 2023 criminal charge within 10 working days.
I see 2 failures to report at $250 each, so $500 non-disciplinary failure to report fine.
I second.
Motion and a second. Any discussion?
I have a quick question.
Yeah.
Member Thorwald, there's a history of that going back to 2018, and I know the fine is significant, but at the same time, it just seems like when people do those kinds of trends, they're going to do them in the future, and it seems like there should be more besides just a fine that a person should get when they're not, they know the law, they know the rules, and they're not obeying them on a consistent basis over years.
Madam Chair, if I may.
Yes, go ahead, Cam.
I think Mr. Thorwald, in this situation, we may have not slapped his hand in 2018. He may have, obviously he didn't get that, hey, don't let this happen again story. So this is the first opportunity that he's learning that, and hopefully he'll learn that going forward that he should disclose.
Thank you. Nothing more from me.
So I have a motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Hearing none, motion carries. Item 4D, complaint number 24-0042. Kristen, if you could take this one for.
Sure. A licensee failed to report charges within 10 working days.
Yeah, my motion is $250. Fine.
Non-disciplinary fine.
Fine, yes.
Second.
All right. All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, thank you.
Ms. Snare, I'm also recused on item 4E. If you could take that one,
Yeah.
please.
Sure. An incorrect medication was dispensed to a patient. And that was complaint number 24-0001. It was a sound-alike, look-alike medication. My motion would be 3 hours of non-disciplinary CE for the tech trainee and pharmacist in error prevention.
Second.
Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay,
Item 4F, complaint number 23-0713. The patient alleged that she received a misbranded medication.
it was unclear to me whether the pharmacist saw the product after it was labeled. That's what I have in my notes. What do we know about that? Oh, thank you. I was just going to ask if Ram was on the
Yeah,
phone.
Hi, this is Ram.
Yeah,
So the pharmacist has the opportunity to look at the prescription after it is labeled, but he did not. He
okay.
did not catch the error.
Thanks. That's what I was wondering if there was an opportunity to see it. So that helped. Thank you so much.
No problem.
I would make a motion for 3 hours of CE for both a pharmacist, I believe it's a trainee tech and a pharmacist in this complaint, and med error prevention, non-disciplinary.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, motion carries. Ms. Snare, if you could do item 4G, please.
Madam Chair, if I may, just point of clarification on last one. So 3 hours for the pharmacist and tech trainee, right?
Yes.
Okay, just making sure. Thank
Okay.
you.
Yep. 4G is complaint 23-0526. The board opened a complaint upon receipt of notice of settlement pursuant to ARS 20-1742 involving patient CF being given a medication that caused an allergic reaction. So I have a lot of notes here on this one. First, starting off, this happened in 2021. So it's kind of difficult for people to recall what they did and didn't do. I did note that there was no documentation of counseling, which may have been like a huge factor here. Does anybody have any thoughts on this?
I believe this case went through settlement, right? Previously.
It looks that way.
Yeah, and due to the time, it's been 3 years almost, right? And we settled, and I don't think the patient complained. The board received a settlement, right? Notice.
The settlement was not with the board. It was maybe through,
Between patients and the organization, I believe so.
Yeah, and
I
Mr.
know
Mayor,
what the outcome
if
is.
I may interject a bit, Mr. Al-Nassif, the complaint can come from any source.
Okay.
When we get notice from an insurance group of a settlement, it is considered a complaint
Okay,
received by the board, so it doesn't necessarily always come from the patient.
okay. Thank you, Dr. Gandhi.
Yes, it would appear that instead of filing a complaint with the board, it looks like they may have instituted like malpractice litigation. And when that happens, there's a requirement for the insurance companies to notify regulatory agencies of potential settlements.
How has that been handled in the past when something like that is done?
I think it's been treated, like Dr. Gandhi said, as a complaint, and it goes through the regular review process.
Well, that wasn't what I meant. As far as once it goes through the regular review process, what has the board done on something like that in the past as far as discipline or non-discipline?
Mr. Hargraves, if I can jump in, Mr. Thorwald, it would be no different than if a customer patient filed a complaint. So there's not necessarily a historical trend. We just look at what took place and the investigation behind it. So yeah, you can assume that the patient complained because they did, just not to us directly. And then make a decision based on what you would have done in a similar case like that.
In this case, I would go with our standard 3-hour CE for error prevention or patient safety, non-disciplinary for all listed involved, which is, I believe, 2 pharmacists.
Yeah, I think in this case, I would lean towards something a little slightly different. Maybe more CE or at minimum a letter of concern. I just think that several things contributed to it from what I'm reading. Kind of doing an override on a DUR, the function to hold back the prescription somehow was overridden, so it did get to the patient. And I don't think there was counseling either. So I think a lot of things contributed here. And I would support maybe 6 hours of non-disciplinary CE and a letter of concern to both pharmacists. That's what my thought was. So non-disciplinary CE. The letter is also non-disciplinary, but it does kind of make a record of what occurred and a reminder of the importance of following these steps.
I have several thoughts that I'd like to throw out. One, if counseling was offered and the person refused, we don't have that. Secondly, we don't know, even though it was a settlement, whether there was actually evidence that there was a major problem here, because people can often settle companies can just settle to get it off the books, so they don't have to deal with it because it costs more to litigate than to just settle. So from what I see, I think I would lean to the lesser, since there's already been a settlement on that, and I'm sure there's a great deal of pressure on everybody to make sure things are right in the future.
I guess my thought is, I don't disagree with what you said. I think that's true, that's not always the case. In this case, they did override it said severe in the allergy section. And that is just like any other error, it can be very serious. So I'm a little bit more.
Yeah, you're right. That makes sense. I'll agree with that. yes, I think it should be. I changed my opinion on that.
Well, I mean, I'm
You're
open to hearing what you have to say, or maybe some in between. So far, all suggestions have been non-disciplinary.
Well, it's tough when you override something too. So that means you've obviously known too. So I have mixed feelings on that. On one side, as I've stated already, but and I forgot about the override there for a moment, and I read that too. So I would go with the stronger one as well.
Mr. Nassif, do you have any thoughts?
I mean, like just thinking between 6 hours and 3 hours, if it's gonna make any difference for the individuals. I'm hoping they learn the lesson, the importance of those DUI alert. So I'm still thinking like 3 hours is appropriate, but I mean, so I'm still like, I'm okay with 3 hours for just like standard, like other errors. Unless we make it 6 hours for error prevention, like 3 including the 30 hours requirement, and the other 3 it's in addition, like 6 hours total of prevention error or error prevention, patient safety. So I don't know if that makes sense. So 3 hours.
One would be included what's required, and one would be beyond what's required.
And the other 3 hours will be in addition to the 30 hours.
I don't know that that's meaningful, in my opinion. I mean, I get what you're trying to say. But if you want to make a motion, I don't know if a letter of concern is something you would support. I was leaning towards that because of the concern about
I support this. I support a letter of concern.
Okay, I'll make that my motion then. 3 hours of non-disciplinary CE and error prevention for both pharmacists, and a letter of concern regarding the DUR override and checking patient allergies for both pharmacists.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay.
All right. Item 4H, complaint number 23-0683. An allergy alert was overridden and the patient experienced an allergic reaction to the dispensed medication.
So I feel like this is similar. I would suggest the same. I think that because it's of its similarity, I would be comfortable treating it the same as the previous.
I would agree with that.
3 hours and error prevention CE in addition to the normal requirements, and a letter of concern to both pharmacists.
Yes. That is my motion.
Second.
Motion and a second. Any further discussion?
Madam Chair, just quick
Yeah.
question. So then is it 33 hours for the renewal, or is it the 3 hours included in the total 30 hours required for renewal?
Beyond.
Beyond, are all these matters that we
Yes.
discussed, are they all in that same situation,
Yes.
up and beyond? Okay,
Yes.
just point of clarification.
Thank you, Dr. Gandhi. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, motion carries. Item 4I, complaint number 24-0025, a licensee violated a board order.
I would say we move to hearing. That's my motion.
I would second this.
Motion and a second. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, motion carries. Item 4J, complaint number 24-0057, an incorrect quantity was dispensed to a patient.
I was leaning towards dismissal on this.
Is the reason for that because the patient was taken care of in both cases?
Mhm. Yeah,
I'll second.
I have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Hearing none, motion carries. Item 4K, can you take this one, please, Ms. Snare?
sure. A prescription was input for the wrong directions and administered to a 6-year-old patient. Unfortunately, I think that even though this circumstances, this is similar to other med errors. And it sounds to me like the company put a DUR alert for pediatric doses, so I don't think that anything should be
Miss-
said necessarily about the permit holder. So I would say 3 hours of non-disciplinary CE for the pharmacist and the technician in error prevention.
I second.
Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
I,
Any opposed?
All right, next up is item 4L, complaint number 24-0055. A prescription was input with the I'm sorry,
I think you read the wrong number. Yeah, 4L.
yeah, 24-0016. I'm sorry, an incorrect medication was mixed with the correct medication.
Yeah.
Thank you, Ms. Nair.
Yeah,
and I believe they only found one wrong medication, right? One tablet.
mm-hmm. The only thing I note on this is a similar process that we've had problems with over and over. I would say in this case, maybe something to the permit holder, just because this process, we've seen it time and time again.
The interesting thing to me, though, is when you looked at the image, it was very obvious that there was one that was incorrect. Like you
Right.
could actually see the one tablet that was incorrect. And in some cases, I think the process actually might be better than because you're actually able to visualize all the tablets versus like if it was in a large vial, I don't know that you would be able to even catch that. So just food for thought.
That's a great point.
I was actually pleasantly surprised how good the images were. What was my point in making that comment?
Yeah,
My personal opinion is it's a medication error. It should be treated the same way as the others, 3 hours and patient safety CE.
I'd second that.
I have a question.
Yes.
How does that even happen in the first place? When is it when the medication is coming before when it's inputted into the bottles? Is there something left on something?
I think
bringing out
my
the-
assumption here, and this is just a total guess, is that there was something left on the tray, probably from the prior prescription that didn't get off the tray. And there was one incorrect tablet.
I think that was in the reading as well. I believe someone either made that as a suggestion of what happened, or they noted that that is what happened.
I'm going back to the other ones where people have been shorted or long numbers on that. How do you miss seeing something in a tray? Is it because you just get busy? What is it that causes you to overlook something so obvious?
I think that's $1 million question, Frank. I think there's a lot of reasons why things can happen.
Yeah, it makes sense. I mean,
yeah, it is a human error.
yes.
Yeah.
I only ask because it seems like it happens a lot. That's why.
I don't see that particular thing happen too often. Not to my memory, but I don't know their system intimately. So I don't know.
And yes, it is a common error that we see, but when you think about the probably hundreds of millions of prescriptions that are filled, it's a small fraction of the actual prescriptions. It doesn't mean that it's not important and that it needs to be overlooked, but I don't think it's something that we see as a type of error, but I don't know that it occurs that frequently.
Okay, thank you.
Ms. Snare, if you want to restate the motion.
Yes, it was 3 hours of, oh, I think I lost my place. 3 hours of non-disciplinary CE.
For both, right?
And medication errors in addition to the
medication error.
normal CEs.
Yes, thank you.
Do I have a second?
I second.
Motion and a second. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, motion carries. Item 4M, complaint number 24-0047. A licensee failed to report charges within 10 working days and failed to timely comply with a board issued subpoena. We have received a response from this individuals now, right? They have complied with the subpoena. It was just a late response.
That's correct. He did respond. He just waited to respond until we notified him of the complaint committee.
Okay.
So I have a question on this. Because it's drug and alcohol related, I was thinking maybe an evaluation might be appropriate. I was wondering what your all thoughts were. Drug, alcohol, and speeding.
Yeah, I agree with the alcohol and drug, yes.
I also agree.
Do we ask for hearing, like, in this case?
I'll make that my motion. So a $250 failure to report non-disciplinary fine, as well as a substance use evaluation.
Second.
Motion and a second. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Hearing none, motion carries. Item 4O, complaint number 24-0081, an order containing 4 medications was delivered to the wrong address.
Did we miss 4N?
Oh, you were right. You're correct. I just jumped ahead. We'll go back to 4N. Complaint number 24-0004. A licensee failed to disclose an arrest on his license renewal.
Can I just ask a question on that last one on 4M? Was
Yes.
the purpose of the interim order having to do with drugs? Because other than drugs being in the title of the charge, I wasn't seeing anything where drugs was involved.
They had alcohol and cannabis on the drug screening that was taken at the time.
We don't typically do an evaluation for one DUI.
But that's what I said. There was drug and alcohol, and that's why I felt slightly different. He was.
Mr. Hargraves, anything further on that?
No.
Okay, let's jump back to 4N.
Okay, so on 4N, it states that he failed to disclose, but on the second paragraph, it says that he sent an email to the board staff disclosing it. I just wanted to clarify unless I'm misreading.
He didn't report it on his license renewal application. He reported it to us afterwards.
Okay.
How long afterwards did he report it?
Looks like January,
Yeah, it was January.
and he reapplied in October.
Right.
Okay, so
I don't know that we've taken action when someone has ended up reporting from my memory.
It looks like he reported it after he was sentenced versus when he was arrested.
Yeah. And it was a second charge, but the first was in 2002. So like 21 years ago, 2003.
Yeah.
Yeah, depending if it was 2002 or 2003. I was leaning toward dismissing because he did report.
I agree with that. Is that a motion?
I'll make that my motion to dismiss.
Second.
Motion and a second. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Hearing none, motion carries. Item 4O 24-0081, an order containing 4 medications was delivered to the wrong patient address.
I'm thinking about like a letter of concern, but it's like a delivery error. It's not like a dispensing error. Or even dismissing.
Yeah, I think I asked this question before. So Amazon is not a 3PL, or they don't have a 3PL. I just need understanding on this because I think this has come up before.
It has. The delivery services, some of them are
Sometimes it's
in-house and some are contract.
Yeah.
And I think
So-
they also use US mail too in some cases.
They do.
And it read in the complaint that there was no HIPAA evidence that was exposed, but I
Yeah,
don't know how we would know that.
the carrier misdelivered it. Like the package did not have any HIPAA evident information, so the carrier delivered the package to the wrong address.
Right, but we don't know that it was opened. I guess they're saying it was not opened.
Even
Just-
if it was open, it's still the carrier.
It's the carrier. I don't think the pharmacy did anything wrong here. I think it's the carrier's issue.
I think it's.
I don't know how the pharmacy could have prevented it from happening.
Yeah, that's what I'm trying to get at. That it seems like there should be a separate 3PL that's licensed under us and the pharmacy that's licensed under us, because basically
No,
we can take
We
no
we don't license like UPS and FedEx and United States Postal Carrier as a 3PL.
Yeah, we only are interested in 3PLs that act like a wholesaler, Ms. Nair, like with their housing for a prolonged period of time. But if they're moving it from site A to site B within a day or two because of US mail or a carrier, that's not of interest to us.
Okay, then I don't believe there's anything we could do here.
Would you
Or-
guys like to hear my opinion?
Sure.
I make a motion, we dismiss.
Mr.
Okay.
Thorwald, Mr. Hyber,
Mr.
the compliance
Hyber's-
officer, wanted to chime in a little bit.
Yeah, I
Go
think
ahead,
you're right.
Mr. Hyper.
I think everybody's correct in the fact that, yeah, there isn't much they can do on an individual basis, but I think we probably need to monitor it for in aggregate, because if there is a continuing trend of losses, then, you know, the permit holder can meet with their contractors and they can put pressure on them to do a better job. Either it's better training or stronger hiring and vetting of candidates, or looking at their workflow processes. Because at the end of the day, you know, they are responsible. Maybe not directly, but I think they still have an indirect responsibility to make sure that the contractors and the processes that are being used to deliver those medications are done in the highest level of quality. So.
Fair point.
I agree with this.
Can a letter be sent to Amazon Pharmacy just noting that when an error like this occurs?
We could do a letter of concern.
So we dismiss PIC and we send a letter of concern to permit holder. Is that correct? Because I don't think PIC or pharmacy itself has anything to do with this error.
Right.
Yeah.
What would our letter of concern contain?
What I'm thinking is that you just simply send it to the corporation, that the portion of the corporation that handles the pharmacies, and let them know that these kinds of errors have occurred, so they can have discussions with their distributors about the whole subject.
Just to review the process of home delivery.
Yes.
I mean, the only potential violation that's noted is around prescription order records, inspections, and confidentiality. So we could cite that as a potential violation.
That's what I was getting at. Thank you. Yes. Okay, I'll make that my motion. A letter of concern to the permit holder regarding confidentiality in their delivery process.
I'll second it.
Motion and a second. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Hearing none, motion carries. Ms. Nair, if you could do 4P, please.
Sure. A prescription was sold to the wrong patient. It's complaint 24-0014. So unfortunately, this was a scanning issue, it seems, at the register. But I do have that the tech and the pharmacist are both aware. So let me just look at that real quick. My recommendation was 3 hours of CE for both the pharmacist and the tech in med error prevention.
I second.
Okay. All of those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? You're on mute, Ms. Walmsley.
Sorry, my finger was not fast enough there. Complaint number 24-0018, item 4Q. Incorrect directions were provided on a prescription label.
I'm sorry, what's the item number? I just
It's
lost my page.
4Q.
Okay. Thank you.
Incorrect directions on a label 4Q.
Yeah. Was there another claim in here? I have in my notes. What about the other claims regarding the co-pays? Now I can't remember what. It's been a minute since I've read it. Sherry, do you have any? Is he on the call?
Yes, I'm here.
And
There's no claims about copays.
Oh, okay. Now I'm making things up. Well, I would, putting aside my question, I would recommend 3 hours of non-disciplinary CE for the pharmacist in med error prevention.
Second.
I said.
A motion and a second. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Hearing none, motion carries. Item 4R, complaint number 24-0084, an incorrect medication was dispensed.
I'll recommend, and unfortunately it was look-alike, sound alike, and I would recommend make my motion 3 hours of non-disciplinary CE for the pharmacist and the technician in med error prevention.
I second.
Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Hearing none, motion carries. Ms. Nair, if you could take 4S, please.
It sure will. A licensee failed to disclose an arrest on her license renewal application and failed to report charges within 10 working days.
My motion is $250 non-disciplinary for not disclosing.
Second.
And second, okay. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
That brings us to the end of the agenda. Dr. Gandhi, anything we need to go back to?
If I might ask, this is
Yes.
Jennifer Mitchell. On Monday, we received some CE from the pharmacist involved in the first complaint, the first complaint, 23-0687 in error prevention. I was wondering if you would be willing to accept that as the CE required for her order.
I'm recused, but I will entertain that from the rest of the board members.
Yes, I would.
Thank you.
Agree.
I agree.
Dr. Gandhi, Ms. Mitchell, anything else we're missing?
Not for me.
Yeah, I think we got it all covered. Madam
All
Chair.
right. Appreciate everybody's time and attendance. We'll adjourn the meeting and we'll see everybody next week.
All
Take
right.
care.
Great
Yeah.
week.
Take care. Bye, guys.